Okay, thanks for joining us. This is our second part of our journey to the tourney, and we're going to talk about the SEC and some of the national stuff. The first part was about Florida with Larry Vettel, Mark Weiss, Kevin Brockway joining me here on the show. And we'll start out, first of all, you want to get Kevin's pick, because last year he picked UConn, and I think they won it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, yeah, I thought I remember that.
Didn't he pick UConn the 4 previous years?
Yeah, well, but that's one thing I want to talk about, guys, because I think sometimes we all get into this mode, and it worked out for you last year. But we get into that mode of the team that wins a conference tournament, a big conference tournament, we go, oh, they're gonna be really good,
Like Vandy.
like Vandy.
Yeah.
And I've been cautioning people about Vanderbilt because they've been wildly inconsistent as well, and not great away from Memorial Gym. And I don't know about you, Mark, but I don't have Vandy going very far because of that. And the other thing is, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, they left everything on that court in New Orleans. And I don't know how much they've got left in the tank.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and they play early. They play Thursday out in Albuquerque.
Yeah, afternoon game.
Afternoon game. So they're going to have to recharge the batteries quickly. They're all the difference. Here's the one thing I will tell you about Vanderbilt that is a difference than the last teams that have gone out in the first round. Jeffrey Taylor is a much better player.
Mm-hmm.
He makes them dynamite. And I know you were in New Orleans, and the first 2 days he was awful.
Yeah, it was him and Darius Miller who could play words.
But against Kentucky, you saw the difference maker.
Yeah.
And when he plays like that, they are on a different level because you know Jenkins is going to get his.
Right.
You know Azili is going to be somewhere 12-7. Yeah, those are the givens. But for Taylor, he's a difference maker for that team.
The other thing about them, Larry, is that I've watched them play a lot this year. And Brian, I was remarking to somebody, I said, I've never seen Brad Tinsley make an important shot in my life. Guess what? In the semifinal game, he made back-to-back threes to break open a close game, made some big shots against Kentucky. So certainly Vandy's got 4 seniors and a junior, and you look at them, and they're coming off of 3 straight wins. You kind of go, hey, I like this team, but there's something about that team that I can't buy into.
I'm going to say something about Vandy I will not say about any other team in the field. They can lose the first round, they can win the whole thing. And there's no one else in the field. I see that as potential, but Vandy's got that.
They can lose the brain bracket game.
They could lose the
To
brain
Harvard.
bracket because of the emotion. I don't know those guys personally, but seniors ought to get over it. I don't know if Kevin Stallings is going to get over it, to be honest with you. I guess there is crying in basketball, but there isn't any in baseball. I really like this team for the tournament because they can shoot from a lot of areas. Goldberg's underappreciated what he does to the team. Azili's playing at such a high level that I didn't think he could reach, to be honest with you. So I've got him taking out Syracuse. I'm a buyer. I've been a buyer on Vandy all year. I've said, and you look at their games against Kentucky, they had chances to beat Kentucky 3 times. I don't think there are teams that can do that. If you want to take out Syracuse, you better be able to rebound and you better be able to shoot over his own. They can do that. I don't trust Tinsley. He's the only thing that keeps them from being a great team.
Let me talk about that because Kevin, you were there too. Kevin Stallings made 2 big changes down the stretch of the game against Kentucky. He took Tinsley out after back. He made the big 3, but he made back-to-back turnovers after that, and he put Keidron Johnson in. And then he went to zone. And then he went zone down the stretch the last 5 minutes. This is a Vanderbilt team that I don't think has had a defensive identity.
No question. And, Florida missed 6 straight shots down the stretch in that game with the zone, and I think it kind of threw him off a little bit, changing defenses a little bit in that situation. Keidron Johnson, a very talented freshman, like you said. I think the difference has been Azili. Early in the season when they had those losses, he wasn't 100%. Now he's playing, and pretty much consensus, everyone says this is the strongest big man in the SEC, and you're going to need that down the stretch. That gives them a little bit of balance in terms of the inside and the out production.
Well, when we saw them in Gainesville, we were kind of joking that if they had a point guard, they'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
If Florida pressed them, they couldn't get the ball off the court.
Even Keidron Johnson struggled.
Yeah. So they have improved. I'm just not a big buyer in conference champions. Now, on the other hand, because we're talking about the SEC teams here, the Kentucky fans by 6 o'clock on Sunday had totally forgotten that they'd lost a game, and we're talking about how great it was for them to have lost that game, and they were excited. And then this, I know I get annoyed by Kentucky fans sometimes.
Only when you need them.
Yes, that's right.
Being the native Kentuckian, I take offense to that.
But they were sitting around where I was, at the place I was, and complaining about their bracket. how they got the hardest bracket of anybody. They got the most interesting bracket, Larry, but it's not the hardest bracket. I'm sorry, Duke is a very, like you said, most vulnerable too.
Their first game is easy. Their third and fourth games are easy. Their second game could be a bear.
I totally agree. I knew one of the number ones was going to get UConn. I knew that was going to happen. That is NBA lottery talent.
It is, but
I know they're dysfunctional. I'm just telling you, there won't be another 8 or 9 team in this field that has the talent. Lottery picks 2 of them that UConn has.
Jeremy Lamb is, first team All-American guard. I mean, he's about as good as it gets. But I think that, certainly Billy and maybe Kevin Stallings with the zone a little bit, and Billy going up tempo with them, getting their bigs tired. I think they exploited some weaknesses in Kentucky, and I think other teams are going to see that, and they're going to take advantage of that. I think a team like Baylor is a team that if they get to the Elite Eight with their athletic talent, their up tempo, that's a team that could give Kentucky a lot of problems.
yeah, the one thing about Kentucky is all 3 of their games. There was probably 3 of the 4 most entertaining. Maybe the most entertaining might have been the bank 3-pointer that sent Tennessee and Ole Miss to overtime, but because they were entertaining, because LSU pressured them defensively, gave them fits. Obviously, we saw Florida ran them to death and beat them in transition. So you kind of looked at that, but these teams all know Kentucky.
Right.
The rest of these teams they're going to be playing, they're going to find out about Anthony Davis' shot blocking ability for the first time.
But let's talk about this one thing that I do think is a pass-along blueprint that Kevin alluded to. Kentucky likes to switch 1 through 5 on the defensive end, and that means at times Anthony Davis is on a guard.
Right.
And they don't care about that, okay? Well, what Florida did brilliantly, I thought, was once that happened, once they got that established, then they spread and went 1-4 flat so that Davis is an on-ball defender, not a help defender. And we all know that the great shot blockers are always help defenders.
Yeah.
So they eliminated Davis from the equation because now he's guarding the drive, which opens up other things. I thought Florida's game plan against Kentucky was brilliant.
I agree completely, but the one thing we look at, Kentucky has certain weaknesses. They have little weaknesses, really little. And you have to have some really good talent to exploit them. And there aren't a lot of Brad Beals that can beat guys shorter and bigger than him off the bounce and finish. And Boynton, I think, when he put the ball on the floor, played well. It was the shot selection I didn't like, but I just think the few things Kentucky doesn't do well, you better be really good at those things to exploit them. The talent gap's just too big, no matter who they're playing.
That's why I think Baylor is that one team that's really dangerous in that bracket, because of a guy like Perry Jones III. That's a guy.
Which one of him is going to show up?
Yeah.
Because he's been MIA a few times this year.
Yeah, I don't buy Calipari's assertion that his team was getting arrogant. I don't buy it at all. I think that team, I love to watch them play. They have smart IQs. I love the fact that Anthony Davis never gets in foul trouble because he doesn't try to block shots he knows he can't block. Yeah. That's where guys get bigs get in foul trouble. I can get that one. Oh, you fouled him. Anthony Davis doesn't do that. Lastly, from the SEC, of course, Alabama is a team that can't score. I'm not going to have.
But they play a team that can't defend.
Yeah, well,
the resistible force against the movable object.
Doug McDermott may get 80 in the game. And the score might be 42-40. I mean, he's going to get a lot of points, but it's going to be a strange game.
Absolutely. I just don't. I'm glad they got in good for Anthony, but I just can't see them going over.
They're so tentative. I mean, I think could they beat Creighton? I think so. Jermichael Green, if he shows up like he did against Florida, there's a strong possibility, but I don't see him, getting that much farther than that.
What they're going to do, they're going to pass the ball around the outside, and then someone's going to shoot.
Yeah.
And if they make a few of those shots, they have a chance to win because they will play a high-level defense. But when they have the ball and Creighton's on defense, that's a good time to go to the concession stand.
Yeah, they made 1-3, and it was the last one they shot against in their quarterfinal.
They make more passes to teammates in non-scoring positions than any other team I've seen.
That's
I mean,
true.
they throw a lot, they'll pass a lot, but everybody that catches it is 35 feet from the basket and not a threat.
Looks like a bad drill from Hoosiers. 15 passes before anyone can shoot.
Throw it to Ollie.
All right, quickly, because we're running a little low on time. Sleeper picks, start with you, Larry.
I go through that, and first of all, you got to define what you mean. I like double digits to a Sweet 16, and fortunately, every time I do this, I come up with a new name. So I'm going to give you another new name today, and that's Texas, an underachieving. I like underachievers to be surprise teams. Texas is 11. I think they got a nice draw. They got a chance to win a couple games. Again, they can go quickly, but I like Texas to surprise some people.
Okay, Mark, how about yours?
I'm going to go with Long Beach State. Older team, played a great non-conference schedule. They didn't beat anybody. Older Casper Ware at the point is really, really, really good. So I think Long Beach State to the Sweet 16 is mine.
I don't know, but I like New Mexico a lot, so we'll see. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm going to go with USF. I'm going to go with Stan Heath in the first 4 game. I think they're going to beat Cal. I like the matchup with Temple. And I like the matchup with Michigan, or if Ohio upsets Michigan. I just think that, they're a slow-down team, half-court team, and I think that's a team that's really capable of, at least advancing a little bit in the tournament.
I'm going to go with San Diego State. I just like that team. I like the coach, and I like their draw.
What's their seed?
6.
What was your seed?
11.
And what was yours?
12.
And what was mine? 13.
Well,
Way to get out on a limb.
No, I got
Way
San
to
Diego
get out on a
State in the
sleeper.
Final 4.
You're putting San Diego
Yes.
State in the Final 4?
Wow.
Steve
Save
Fisher
this.
gets that.
Save this.
What? Watch what happens. Of course, I was so right last year. I had Pittsburgh in the final. I nailed that one, which brings us to our Final 4 picks. And Kevin, we got to defer to you. You picked the winner last year.
The rest of us are just
Everybody's sitting there with their pens going, who's he picking so I can go bet on him. But who do you got this year?
Well, last year I went with the team that won the conference tournament that had the momentum, but this year...
So you're taking Louisville?
No, this year I'm going a little different. I'm going with a team that actually lost in its conference tournament finals, but a team that I think that is the best talent in the country, but hasn't necessarily put it together. I'm going to say North Carolina is going to win over Missouri in the finals.
Don't you think North Carolina, and I think that's a worthy pick, but it's all about John Henson.
Yep.
I mean, if he's healthy and playing, they're one team, but if he's not, they're a totally different team.
Kendall Marshall, though, is, I think, the best point guard in the country, and I think he's really going to be able to, if you have that good guard play, I think that really can carry you through, even with some guys, hurt and injured.
All right, who's in your Final 4, Mark, and who do you have winning the whole thing?
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to take Kentucky. I would tell you now, I would take Wichita State if they were in any other region as of my long shot. But I just don't think they can beat Kentucky. I'm going to go with Marquette. I'm going to go with DJO and Jay Crowder for the upset there. I'm going to stick with Syracuse. And then down below, this is the region, the Midwest, that I've had the most trouble with. I'm going to say John Henson is okay, and I'm going to bring Carolina out there. I think it's going to be Kentucky and Syracuse. I think they've been the 2 best teams all along.
Right.
And here's what I think about a final. I think Syracuse could lose to many more teams than Kentucky along the way.
Yeah.
But the one team that will give Kentucky fits is Syracuse with that length and zone. I'm going to go with Syracuse.
They'll make them shoot, and they are erratic at 3-point shooting.
Right.
Larry, how about your Final 4? Oh, so you got Syracuse winning it all.
I got
Write
Syracuse.
these down. Syracuse, North Carolina, okay.
Unfortunately, I got to go along with Cousin Kev. I've been a Tar Heel guy all along. But Henson's wrist, they don't really need him offensively. You can block shots with a sore wrist. So I don't think that's a big concern. I think they got a very, very nice draw. I like Carolina, Kentucky in the final. I think they're the 2 most talented teams in the country. Syracuse is probably a little bit better, but that's my upset, having them go out to Vandy. I'm going to send Vandy all the way to the Final 4 with Marquette. I agree with Marquette. They play so hard. Missouri plays hard. You talk about people play. I don't think Marquette plays hard during warm-ups. I mean, if you're playing Marquette, you're sweating during the national anthem. Those guys are as intense as any team in the country, and come tournament time, there are times when you better be a real competitive bunch. That's why I like Marquette.
Well, I am picking Kentucky to win the whole thing, because then if they win it, at least I can say I was right, and it'll be consolation.
But you are really going out on a limb.
Well, I got San Diego State in the Final 4.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I've got Ohio State in the Final 4, and I've got Michigan State in the Final 4.
I've got Baylor upsetting Kentucky in the Elite Eight. I think they can do it.
I feel that I was in the Atlanta airport forever yesterday because the pilot's chair broke on Delta. Don't get me started.
You can't stand. It's a 45-minute flight.
That's a new one.
Well, I know, but I filled out about 8 brackets on ESPN just because I was bored, and one I just went with the best nickname.
So how far did San Diego, South Dakota stay?
They went it
South
all.
Dakota went to the Elite Eight. But Purdue, your national champions if you go by
The
that.
Boilermakers.
That's a great story, though. Robbie Hummel. Or don't you feel
Oh,
bad
yeah.
for Robbie
I
Hummel?
hope he
Yeah.
does well, yeah.
If you pick the Boilermakers to win it all, we know where in the airport you were when you filled out.
And
Sam
we always
Adams.
talk about how much fun it is to watch these kind of storylines.
Right.
How could you not put Memphis next to Kentucky instead of UConn?
I know.
I mean, come on, what a fun
They're
storyline that would be.
losing some of those.
Or
yeah.
Louisville.
Louisville
Yeah.
and Florida, we could have, Rick Pitino, Billy Donovan.
That would have been great, yeah. So they got some of it right, not some of it right, but that's the way it is. And the great thing is, as soon as they tip it off, nobody's gonna talk about where anybody was seated. And all that stuff goes away. Dick Vitale's not screaming at anybody anymore. And all we're doing is watching basketball. Can't wait for it. We'll be heading to Omaha, and Kevin and I, it's gonna be a rough trip, but we're gonna get out there somehow. And look forward to being out there. Mark, you'll be out there, I assume?
Yeah, is baseball? Baseball's in Omaha, right?
Yeah. The one thing about it is, I know where to go. After 14 days there, I know where to send people.
And where not to go.
And where not to go.
Enjoy the zoo.
So the good thing is we're at the same hotel the Gator baseball team's in, which was the premium hotel. So we got that going for us. At any rate, we appreciate you joining us for the Journey to the Tourney, our second annual, and we'll see how we did. Until then, Larry Vettel, Mark Wise, Kevin Brockway, and Pat Dooley saying so long from the Sunshine State.